Mr. Patterson?
Okay. This is the meeting of the Police and Fire Advisory Committee of the City Council of Bisbee, Arizona on the 25th of May, 2021 at 17:30. That's where my Marine Corps son would say it, 5:30 in the afternoon.
Thank you, Mr.
So we could do a quick roll.
Yes, Craig Emanuel, Ward 1,
Craig Emanuel representing Ward 1.
Thomas Patterson, Ward 1,
I am here.
Cynthia Conroy, Ward 2,
Yes.
I see the chief is on, but he's muted.
oh wait, here we go. Thank you. Kay Goikovich,
Present.
Cool.
Ward 2. And then joining us now, we have Albert E. Chave, Police Chief. I have George Castillo, Fire Chief. I
He's
see
muted.
Robert Klein. Let's see.
Hey, chief, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. Okay, we're just seeing if your audio's working.
I'm trying to.
Right.
Joel also,
Yes,
Robert Klein.
Joel, I also have Deputy Chief Long and Sergeant Gardner here in the office with me as well.
Okay, excellent.
hi, chief, long time no see.
Robert, is Brandon going to be joining us or can we continue?
I'm not sure if going to or not.
Okay, we'll go ahead and continue.
So,
Joel, you see me?
Yes, I see you. And Mr. Pocken, City Manager, I apologize.
okay, and the council representative is,
My understanding it was Joni, but I think I was just informed that it's Frank Davis, and I'm not sure if he's on with us or not. I do not see him. So I do
No.
not have the council
So-
liaison.
is Robert a commission member?
Robert Klein
Or a
is,
fire chief, fireman, or a policeman, or,
I'm at the fire department.
yes,
oh, okay, thank you.
You bet.
okay. Okay. So I have the following information to be discussed, considered, and or decided upon this meeting. Agenda item number 1, discussion and possible approval of minutes, action agenda of the meeting of the Police and Fire Advisory Committee held on February 25th, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think, do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Craig Emanuel, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes
Second, anybody?
of February 25.
Did you second, Cynthia?
I will.
Kay did.
Okay. Okay,
25th, 2020.
all right, the motion to accept the minutes has been made and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor,
Aye.
please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The minutes are approved.
Thank you. Item number 2, discussion and possible election of a chairperson.
All right. Let's just open the discussion.
What are your feelings, Tom? Do you want to continue as chairperson or would you like? something
I
else?
would not mind because there's been times in the last few years, I think I was the only member of the commission, but I am so happy to see us have a quorum. But, I'm one of those will of the people, so, but I would be happy to serve until you want to throw me out. But we need a motion.
Craig Emanuel, I'd make a motion to continue with Tom Patterson as chair of our committee.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, thank you for your competence. or your burden, whichever it happens to be, but hopefully we can, if you can recruit any other members, I think Ward 1 is the only one we've got filled right now, right?
Yes.
Ward 1 and Ward 2 are both filled.
So we have no Ward 3 and no at-large.
Correct.
Okay, well, at-large is, anybody can do it. So if you know someone that would be, the way I view the committees and the commissions is it's a chance for the populace to have direct input into the city government. Where else are you gonna have the police chief and the fire chief with you at the same time? Never, unless you just burnt down your house or something, but this is a unique opportunity to actually affect what happens in the city and to get direct information from the people in power. So, if you can encourage anybody to join us, I'd be here trying to get people to join commissions and committees, and it's had some success, but the pandemic has been terrible. So
Thank you very much, Mr. Patterson.
you're welcome, Joelle.
And agenda item number 3, discussion and possible acceptance of method of communication between chairperson and the public. And I left off more clarification, which should be there. And my intent there was for the purpose of potential agenda items. So Mr. Patterson gets a number of phone calls, things of that nature. And so we were wanting to discuss a formal manner or just an option in which the public can communicate their interests to Mr. Patterson, the chairperson.
Well, I originally made the mistake of putting my phone number in the Bisbee Watch Facebook page. And now people aren't calling. But I think maybe there needs to be a place, we may need to look at the city having a,
What about the
anybody could call.
website, the City of Bisbee website?
Is there a place where they could put in, where we could direct, maybe through the newspaper people, direct them to the website and let them know they can input agenda items, I think on any committee or commission. Joelle?
I would have to check with Nina to see another option. I would think either perhaps with city staff or council liaison, if it, my email, or if it is Mr. Davis, if his email, which is public, as well as mine,
Okay.
can be used to submit, and then I can forward those emails, or Mr. Davis can forward those emails to Mr. Patterson.
Well, it really ultimately needs to come to you. But just so you know, any of us, anybody on the commission can put agenda items on the agenda. So, if someone comes up to you and said, would you guys talk about this? All you gotta do is give Joelle a call and it'll be on the agenda. Doesn't take any kind of consent by the committee. It doesn't take any kind of, unless it's something questionable, but I can't imagine any of these respectable people I'm looking at right now putting anything questionable on there. So just-
I will definitely then keep in contact with you. I will also follow up with Nina to see what our options are there. Maybe we could even put a blurb or something, because all the committees have a page essentially on the city website,
Okay,
and just a little notation there. So,
okay.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairperson, Mr. Patterson, I have a question.
Yes, Cynthia.
I believe to the chair, right? To the Chair.
Yeah, you're doing this so parliamentarily right. I am just
I made the
impressed.
just an hour ago. So question is, on this statement, really, and Joelle, this would be to you and possibly directed to our city manager. When this question talks about communication between the chairperson and the public, and I thought Kay's example of, and Joelle's assumption that maybe we could get something on the website would be a really good idea. And Tom's concern that I think I heard, which is that all committees you know,
Yeah.
having been here a really long time, it would be nice if all committees, I mean, I know there's this digital world to participate in. So backing up from that, there is the Bisbee Observer, which is sort of the city newspaper where people look for all kinds of
Yeah,
announcements.
and they're really good about.
I wonder if anyone has, because I talk to Laura pretty often. I've tried to encourage the mayor, and I know the city manager and the mayor are going to do this, which is, and Laura has said she'd be glad to give the space. This is like a, you know, they have that terrible city watch or whatever they have out there. We need a piece of her paper that's dedicated to either committee report or any of us who like to write. Somebody'd say, oh, and this is what the police and fire are doing. And oh, this is the concern of, you know, Tom, you and I are both on streets and infrastructure, at least I am. So we put, if there was a place that people knew they could go look and find not only the contact of the chairperson, but maybe a co-chairperson or whoever wanted to be.
Any of the
communication
committee
person.
members, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting, and then the mayor, you know, there should be a word from the mayor once in a while, a word from the city manager. I think people, I take this from the supervisor, Mike Palmer, 25, 30 years ago when I first worked in the court system. Mike and Judge Borwick started writing their article in the paper, told me, yeah, we never have to worry about getting reelected because we're out there in the press. Now we have the digital stuff, but I still think our press is a strong place for those of us who are either elected officials or appointed or, you know, to report to people. And I think Laura would dedicate free space. I just,
Okay.
I don't know who should coordinate that, but
Yeah, whenever I put an editorial in asking people to join committees and stuff, she's always printed it.
right. But that's not the same as having a literal
No,
dedicated
I understand that. I'm just saying,
out.
I'm openness to support.
So I don't
You-
know if this committee or anybody who makes this decision is interested, but I would like to know if anyone is.
Yeah,
interested.
well, I'm interested and I'd like to appoint you as a representative of this committee to talk to Laura.
I'll
And
talk to her
would you
and
be willing to do that?
bring back what she's willing to give the city of Bisbee space for its committees and its
Yeah,
officials.
just have a discussion and, you know, we cannot, three of us cannot meet at the same time without it being subject to the open meeting law. I mean, we can't talk one-on-one.
Mhm.
If you see, you don't have to avoid each other in the street or anything like that, but well, I see you often enough, Cynthia. You can let me know what she had to say and we can
Well,
get
I'll try to
what
make
Joe.
sure that it doesn't go in the cartoon section of the Observer.
Thank
Well,
you
it might
very
be
much.
read by more people. I mean, I don't know, but no, I think it'll be appropriately done. Just don't have it bordered such that it looks like an obituary.
Right, no kidding.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that's all. Thank you.
All right.
So,
Mr. Chairman, Craig
Yes,
Emanuel,
sir. Yes, Craig.
following along with transparency for the police and fire department is really important, especially in lieu of current events nationwide. And so if there could be a portal on the Bisbee webpage, the city webpage, in addition to Cynthia's suggestion of the news media, I think that would be, you know, at least our minutes posted and a way to have suggestions for topics.
Yeah, I think Cynthia's remarks were in addition to
yeah,
what
assume-
we already perceived as Joelle's going to talk to Nina.
Wonderful.
Now, there are already set places that the city charter designates that minutes be posted. Is that correct, Joelle?
Yes,
Okay,
and the
And
minutes
so-
are posted on the city website under, like I said, there's a page for the Police and Fire Advisory Committee. All committees have that where the agendas or well, the meeting notices are posted and then the action agendas are posted.
what about at the library? Are they still doing that or not?
I was just speaking of the webpage. I would
Oh,
have
okay.
to get further clarification. I don't want to speak
Okay.
out of
Well, I think there's
correctly.
2 or 3 different places where things like that are
Okay.
posted. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, Greg. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And no further, okay, moving
No, I
on
think
to agenda item number 4. Discussion and possible direction to resume in-person police and fire advisory committee meetings. And I will also just wanted to mention that after I completed the agenda, I was able to speak with Mr. Pocken, city manager, and it was felt that at this time, all committees and should function following how the city council is functioning right now. So knowing that that is definitely something that people want to see is in-person meetings, but at this time we wanted to continue as a whole. So all committees will either, well, right now will continue to be via Zoom, or with exceptions, given personal circumstances, someone can come sit in my office or something along those lines.
Well, so are you looking for committees and commissions to buy onto this? Or is it just going to be a blanket decision of the city council?
Joelle,
Mhm.
if I could, Mr. Chairman, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, the mayor and council had considerable discussion about this at their meeting last Tuesday. And with only one, maybe two exceptions, they thought that it was still in the best interest of the city to continue with Zoom meetings. I think all of us at the same time, would love to get back into it. And because I think the discussion is always better when you do that, but council did not mandate that boards and commissions should continue to Zoom. My suggestion to Joelle was just that two things really. Number one, getting, following council's lead in terms of how we plan and execute. And number two, getting a place to hold the meeting so that we can actually do it. We still, as far as I know, have the place that we had down on Toveryville. It's not in a condition at the moment to resume meetings yet. We'd have to go in there and do some cleanups and bring some of the furniture back that they took out. And so that's not a huge task, but I thought perhaps for the sake of consistency, if for no other reason, Tom, we should follow council's lead on that. And then when they go public, then we can go public. But that's up to you.
Yeah, well, I think right now, Joelle, we have a regularly scheduled meeting once a quarter. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, so we have meetings once a quarter that are scheduled and kind of published that people know when we're going to meet. And we can meet anytime if there's a need arises. But we're not going to have a regularly scheduled meeting for 3 months. So the dynamics of this could change drastically in that amount of time. There's going to be 6 council meetings. So 2 things. One, see when the city council decides everybody should meet publicly, and then see if all the city council members survive. And if they do, then we'll start meeting in public. So, I think we got enough time to not worry about it right now.
Sounds like a
Okay.
plan.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Mhm.
It gets us on the next agenda item. That makes Joelle really happy.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Agenda item number 5, fire department report. And the requested topics were emergency response plan and time in Old Bisbee after parking changes, and emergency response plan and time for Higgins Hill Courthouse and surrounding area due to unregulated parking, and then a department update. Chief?
Oh, hello, everyone.
Oh, gee.
Of the emergency response plan and times in Old Bisbee after the parking changes, we've been up there a few times. We actually haven't had any major issues going through them streets or anything around it as of this time. We can do test drives throughout the day if needed to be, to see if there's any parking issues or access blockages for our apparatus or anything, but as of now, we haven't had any issues. Anything that I've known of or my firefighters have reported to me about any type of driving hazards or issues up there.
Does
Well,
that
we-
include Quality Hill, sir? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, we've not had any major events held in the community though for a while either. And I don't know what the schedule of events for this summer that are actually gonna happen is. But when there's something special going on, parking dynamics change quite a bit. And so,
That's
you know,
correct.
I would think we might want to take a look at that. And the first time there's an event held, take a run and see whether we developed some problems that weren't there when nobody was doing anything. That's just personal feedback. But I think that, I don't know what this summer looks like. Is the race going to be held this October, Cynthia?
It will be.
Oh,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
we'll be having the parade, which of course will be in Warren on July, well, whatever July day they choose. That hasn't been nailed down yet. But drilling and mucking will take place. And we anticipate that to be on July 4th. So, and of course, as you know, that's a major event in Old Bisbee.
Yes, I do.
But we just found out yesterday that drilling and mucking was actually going to be an event this year.
Joel?
I have a question or comment possibly. So the question for the fire chief was based on quote, parking changes. In general, everything about Old Bisbee and Main Street that I've been driving around and studying for over 30 years, everything is improved. So in a sense, and maybe I'm wrong and the fire chief and the police chief have a different view, but except for a few major areas that are still problematic, that have always been problematic, like Kay, I know, and myself about the second part of the question, which is the surrounding area in front of, well, across from my building at the courthouse, which is why I'm concerned because I'm there all the time and I see it all the time. And the conflagration almost, but the configuration.
Yeah.
And I know that area is about to be worked on, and that'll make a big difference. But on the whole, I think everything's better and everybody should be congratulated.
Yeah, I have concerns about the courthouse too.
In front of the courthouse, and I have asked this more than one occasion, so I'd love this group, everybody, all that Contessa's and other lunch parking, and all the restaurants that are up there now, 3 of them,
4.
they park double, they block, there's no, people just park wherever they want in that triangle in front of the courthouse. And this weekend I was there and they were double parking, so they becomes very narrow, and it's just for fire trucks, it's gonna be, or police cars, it's gonna be a problem. So I asked a Superior Court judge, she ran some county maps because I've been told that that's private. That's why the city hasn't lined it over there on that side in front of the courthouse, that V. But I have been assured and looked at the map myself that in fact that is all county property. So it's
Yeah, there's some private property around Contessa's, but my concern, Chief, has been both the parking, because people will park from the Iron Man all the way to the wall in front of the courthouse.
right.
So if you come in the entrance going towards downtown, you've got to go up and around the courthouse and come down the other sides. But I've also been concerned about the fact that people go in and out of both sides of the Iron Man, and whether maybe we should, I do believe there should be a space between the wall and the parking. And maybe we have a designated entry point and exit point. But it should be striped if at all possible, so that we could define the parking places. People seem to be, but this may already be on what you're going to say. So I don't want us to jump, really got done saying what you're going to say. So why don't you finish and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah, I understand what you guys were talking about on the weekends. That area by the Iron Man does get congested. Again, we haven't had any issues as of yet. And I guess to change that parking, I'm sure that would probably have to go through Public Works and through the council and everything else. to get that stuff fixed. I'm not sure if Chief Chavi's had any issues, complaints about the parking up there as well.
So I was gonna discuss a little bit on my part, but we'll just get this out a little sooner. That's been a concern for some time, and yes, it's not, the challenge of that is that that property is not a city, it's not now, nor has it ever been apparently an actual city street, although it's been used as one for my entire lifetime. And I agree, if we had at least a way striped, we could see, the people who park there could see their parking potentially in the roadway if we had that roadway marked. As it sits right now, it's not city property and it's not a roadway. So there's where the challenge lies. And I think the discussion that's been had a few times, both with our current Public Works Director and previous Public Works Director is it our responsibility? Is it their responsibility? And whose place is it? That's where the challenge lies. But it has been a problem for some time. I know Kay and I discussed this not too long ago, and I've discussed it many times over the years, and voiced my concerns with that particular area.
Well, is it county property?
It is county property from behind the Iron Man and a V shape all the way up to the courthouse by the county.
Well, Joel, what would it take for me to get on this Board of Supervisors agenda?
Oh, for the county?
Yeah, if they're the ones that have to do it, we should bring our issues up to them. Maybe that would be the quickest way to do it. Now, a couple of years ago, I came home and all the parking across in front of the canal across from my house had been blocked with cones, and it said no, but they did it in the middle of the afternoon, and everybody who had gone to work from this area where I've got 6 houses behind me, where it's going to come home and find that there was no parking there. So I called our former Public Works Director and asked him, I said, well, couldn't you have at least given people a day's notice or something? And he told me that you can only park there because I allow you to park there. And if I wanted to, I could ticket you. So I called council, I called everybody I could. And it wasn't that many months later, the parking was widened, the parallel parking or the diagonal parking and over the canal was put in. And so, you know, I agree with Cynthia. There's a lot more parking than there used to be. The only person happy is the guy that owns the property across the street that found out that anything over a canal belongs to the city and saw his lot cut in half. If people can park next to the canal without being out in the roadway. And so I don't think anybody in the city can do anything or make any kind of a decision on county property without the county going along with it.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would it be better served possibly, or maybe we can work a little faster because I don't know how fast the Board of Supervisors operate, but would it be beneficial if he was willing to, as for Mr. Palkin, the city manager, to meet with the county manager and see if they can get together and try to resolve the issue?
Well, they could discuss the issue. I don't know whether the two of them could resolve it, but
Mr. Chairman.
yes, sir.
Kay, that's an excellent suggestion. I was going to suggest that perhaps, since this is an agendized item, that we could have you all take an action tonight to recommend that the city staff work with the county staff resolution to the issue. And then that would be an official act from your committee to the staff to proceed. I think that would be a great idea. And then
Excellent idea.
I can feel free to go ahead Of course, we'll report it to council as well, because they need to know. But then I can interface with Mr. Kawaza, the county administrator, and see if we can't work out some kind of a.
Well, when we get done with the chief's report, let's have somebody make a motion to that effect, because that's an excellent idea. I think it is. So let's let the chief finish. Then we can we kind of jumped in on you, chief. I'm sorry.
That's all
Been a
right.
while since we had a meeting, and we're also worked up about this parking in that area that you hit a hot button right off the bat. Well, I don't want to say hot around a fire gun, an important button.
That's all right. Yeah, I'll just kind of give you guys a little bit of department update. As of now, we are up to 893 calls of service so far for the year. And the first time in a long time, we are finally fully staffed. It's taken a few years to finally get fully staffed, but we are finally fully staffed, and that's good news because it is fire season right now. So we need them actually. Our department put in for a FEMA grant. We actually applied for a quint. If you're not sure what a quint is, that's a ladder, an aerial truck. We felt that would serve the city of Bisbee best to have, because of our multi-story buildings and the reach that this truck can provide us in helping fighting fires. After we had the city hall fire, the city needs some type of fire apparatus of an aerial. So we put in for the ground that, and we're hoping we'll be hearing about it sometime this year if we get approved for it or not. So our fingers are crossed that we get this truck. What's that?
Hey, are you done?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I hope you
We're
get that
looking-
truck. I mean, I'm amazed we don't have one. So go ahead, chief.
well, yeah, we have, if you look at it, I mean, especially drive up Old Bisbee and take a look at the St. Pat's building and the courthouse and, the buildings around there, how high they are. If they ever caught fire on the
Oh,
roof,
yeah.
I mean, there's really nothing we can do except try to, shoot our water cannons up there, but it's not going to be very effective. So it's something that the city really needs, and it actually will probably most likely lower ISO ratings and everything else with this better insurance.
And we got new light bulbs replaced along Main Street when those colored light bulbs burn out, huh? Well, I'd rather have you on a ladder truck than bouncing up and down on a trampoline, but I think it's important. I thank you for doing that. I hope just keep us informed.
Oh, we will. We're also looking to purchase a couple LP15s. They're heart monitors. Our heart pretty outdated. And we're also trying to get a third one through a Tohono O'odham grant that we just received some paperwork on, that I've already forwarded some information to Danielle so she can put that in as well. So if things go well, hopefully we should have 3 of them, which again is a life-saving tool for the community, something we really need. I'm sure you all know that it's kind of an early season for wildland. It's already here. We've already had fire last Thursday, or the Thursday, the 13th, up there in Zacatecas. That fire had potential to be pretty disastrous, but it actually happened at a good time, a little after 5 in the evening. The winds were pretty calm, and we were able to get resources on it pretty quick to keep it from crossing up on the hill and getting into town. So the fire season is here. We've also a few suspicious fires. We've had a few. We had a brush fire a few months back on School Terrace that looked like it was somebody was doing a cooking fire out in the middle of nowhere, left the food there. And then we had 2 more fires on Cochise Row that were deemed suspicious. Of course, the Zacatecas fire. It's also suspicious fire. And then that Sunday, May 16th, I had her over there behind the Head Start Way. That one, there was some pretty high winds on that one, and that was moving pretty good, but they was able to get that under control pretty quick.
Are there similarities to these fires, Chief? I mean, do you have any reason to tie them together or?
At this time, we have no evidence tying them together. They're just all suspicious in nature. How they start, we really didn't have, there was really no clues left behind of what started. You know, they've all been under investigation, and hopefully if there is an arsonist out there, we can catch them before it does any more or any severe damage, especially now with the high winds and, you know, and the red flag warnings. Those are pretty much our major concerns right now if there is somebody out there lighting fires. And then with the upcoming July 4th pretty soon, you know, everybody's going to start going out there and purchasing fireworks. And the ones that are not illegal are the ones that are explosive ones that you can pretty much just drive across state line, New Mexico, and purchase. Those are like firecrackers, bottle rockets, M80s, the Roman candles. Those are right now really scary for us if people get their hands on those and start lighting them off, because again, with the high winds and the dry conditions, it can be pretty disastrous. And I know we had a fire, if I can remember the date, I believe, yeah, 2003 on July 4th, right there on Garden Avenue. We had that whole city block go up, and that was due to a bottle rocket. So it does happen, and that's hopefully we can prevent that from happening this year or anytime soon. So hopefully it can get out to the public. I did a story that's going to come out in the paper this week on the dangers of the fireworks and the dry conditions. So that's pretty much all I got right now from the fire department. Any questions?
Can I add to
Anybody
that?
got any
Chief, real quick?
questions? Cynthia?
Yes.
This is Robert Klein. I'd like to add to what Chief Castillo
Okay.
had stated.
Go ahead, Robert.
Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, so I just to let everyone know that the Bisbee Fire Department operates a individual Facebook page, which I created and I have access to, as well as Chief Castillo. And we put updates on there as far as current weather conditions, red flag warnings, and the fires that the chief had mentioned on there as well. So that is an avenue of information that's available to unfortunately anyone with Facebook, but it is out there. And then to kind of coincide with that, the Firefighters Union also has an independent Facebook page that shares information as well. So as we get closer to the 4th of July, I usually post various pictures of different safety information about the dangers of fireworks. And like Chief Castillo had said, ground fireworks are legal in the state. The aerials are not. And so we do and make people as aware as possible. So we definitely try and do our part to minimize the fire risk.
Okay, well, it also gets back to, we got so many different ways of disseminating information and getting feedback that I don't know whether we need some common place where people can find that these sources are available. Cynthia, you had something to say?
Well, thanks for that information, because I guess all those Facebook pages are great. But my question is, would this committee, or the city of Bisbee through this committee, just like we're about to make a motion regarding the previous discussion, should we or can we even make a motion that basically says, because somehow I remember a few years ago when the hazard wasn't as awful as it is now, that the city said all fireworks, everything you would put a match to is illegal for the 4th of July. In other words, that the city says, you want to do a firework, go to Sierra Vista. No, I'm kidding. It's
Well,
something that makes it is council or anyone to make an edict, so to speak, for the
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that the previous issue with the parking in front of the courthouse is something we can actually take up today for a motion, because just because it resulted from his report. If it's not on the agenda, then the public hasn't been given a chance to feed back on that issue. So it may be that out of the reports, we can listen to the reports, but can generate any actionable items on the agenda today without putting them on an agenda so the public can comment about it. What do you think, Joel? Or Steve?
I was
Either one.
gonna say, can I defer to Mr. Pocket? I'm not,
Absolutely.
thank you.
He's out in space somewhere from what I see.
That was on purpose, Tom.
Okay, I kind of thought so.
Yeah. Your concern is about whether or not your committee can actually make a motion to make a recommendation that's not specifically on the agenda. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just looking at the agenda here and it says emergency response plan in time for Higgins Hill Courthouse and surrounding area due to unregulated parking.
Oh, yeah,
I think
okay.
you're correct. It doesn't say possible action on that agenda. Correct. A motion would be out of order, but just rest assured that I hear you. And I can take it upon myself, based on what I hear about this meeting tonight, to make some initial contact.
Well,
with the
as
administration.
private citizens, we can ask you if you would reach out and see
That's
what the
right.
possibility is. And then maybe that'll result in something we can put
Yeah.
on the agenda. Be sure we're
Yeah.
careful. We don't want our first meeting in a long time to end up with a bunch of $1,000 fines.
You
So,
don't want to talk to the Attorney General, huh?
no, because those are fines nobody else can pay for you.
That's
You
right.
have to pay it yourself.
That's
Even
right.
if you're a city employee, the city can't pay it. But
Okay.
let you know, without us doing an agenda item and voting on it, you also can't have the city pay for your lunch. So,
Well,
Chief,
Oh, muted, I'm sorry.
okay, that's all right. If you got an emergency, we
So,
understand.
Mr. Chairman, I'll take it upon myself to establish contact with county administration.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
and by your next meeting, I should know something.
Okay, good.
And so then that would also be true of saying anything about the use of fireworks within city limits, correct? That
Would be even more,
If
that
someone
would
else
be,
do something,
yeah, Cynthia, because he referred to the parking issue. And as far as the chief's report, that's closer to open meeting, okay? But banning fireworks is probably, and it doesn't mean with a Zoom meeting, if we can get 4 of us together, we can have a Zoom meeting with, how many days notice do we need, Joel, for an
24
emergency meeting?
24
12?
hours.
Okay, so we can have them for Cynthia, just have an emergency meeting to discuss that one issue. And I think it may be important enough to do so.
well, I just think the fire risk is so high. We've had the most winds I've ever lived through. It's so dry. And there were years when fireworks were not used much because I thought the city put a policy out, or the fire department did, or the chief of police, somebody was out there in the vernacular kind of talking across the fence. Okay, no fire, tampered down. And just because people appear to be so celebratory now, I'm really worried what's going to happen with this time period, the next few, the week before,
Yeah, well, I think
versus-
I
So
think
it would help, I would
it might be justified. It won't be a long meeting, but we would
Right, we
need
could
to
just do
post
that
it.
one topic and see if we can help on that issue. It may not go anywhere, but better than ignoring it as a potential risk,
What do you, Chief Castillo?
I don't know, what do other people
Javi,
think?
what do you got an important enough issue that we should act on it?
I think it is important, because of the dry, conditions right now. But I mean, trying to police, I'm sure even Chief Achawi would say, I'm sure around the 4th of July, that whole weekend, there's gonna be fireworks going off like crazy. Regardless if we pass it or it's, a law in the city or whatever not to have them, it's still every year, even when we're up on the hill getting race, we see them all going off constantly throughout the city. So I would like to see them, but that happened. But I technically, be honest, I don't know if that we could get everybody to
Well,
stop.
I don't think we should shy away from it because we don't think people would be, would abide by it. But anything you do officially, some people abide by it. And if we can take some of the Roman candles and, bottle rockets out of the hands of perpetrators, that would be great. And I also don't know, we had that bag law reversed because we didn't have the right as a city to make a law that was the state right. I don't know whether we can outlaw fireworks if the state hadn't completely outlawed them. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I was just thinking that in the past, we have usually followed the lead of the state fire marshal's office. In that mean that we can't take action on our own. I would recommend, however, that whatever action we take gets formal action by the mayor and council so that it does have some enforcement potential. Even if we can't catch them in the act, if there was to be an incident and we found the person who, was responsible for that incident taking place, the fact that we had placed a limitation would help with a conviction. So either way, it's better to do it than not. So, and George, I haven't heard anything from the state yet with regard to any levels of fire for the season.
I haven't heard anything from the state. I know I think that right now they're banning, from my understanding, open fires. They're gonna start banning those at the campsites and everything else if it's not already done. But right now we haven't heard anything from the state.
Well, see, statewide, you don't have 48-mile-an-hour winds going up like we do up the canyon.
Yeah.
So even though the winds are higher around the state, we're the ones getting the red flag warnings. And I haven't seen this much wind since, one of the council meetings a few years ago. So I think that,
That's a good one.
okay, and the thing is, so this is something we could take up on an emergency basis to refer it to the city council. I don't know if the city council, we can speak to,
I think Mr. Patterson's froze up.
I was just gonna echo a little bit of what George said. I think, I know in the past.
I can speak to Frank or someone. If we had a council representative here tonight, they could take it.
There we go. I think we caught up. I think in the past, I know Chief Ernest, probably in line with the state fire marshal, declared, a ban on fireworks. And that does give us a little bit extra authority in those matters. Granted, when there's 8 of us working and they're going off all over town, we can't always respond to every single one, but it gives us the ability to deal with the most violations. And if there is a incident and a fire is started, again, we have, like Mr. Hawkins said, an additional violation that we can go on, and that helps out as well too. It is definitely very dangerous. That's one of our biggest concerns every year, especially around Vista Park. We have all these people piled in there and wildcat pyrotechnic shows going off all over the place with kids running around, and we've had some very close calls, and it's tough for us with just a few of us to deal with. We usually feel like we're chasing our tails around, but we try to deal with it as best we can. And it's
something
better than nothing.
Maybe we could speak to the sheriff and see if his vocational crime group at the high school, he's got that group of kids that's involved. Maybe they could work as like amateur fire spotters to be able to call in, hey, we just saw a whole bunch of fireworks going off here or there. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could deputize a firework information committee. I'm just thinking if there, yes, 8 people on the 4th of July, even going, keep taking care of drunk people is gonna be tough. So if we had other people that could say, hey, I'm gonna watch out here, and we'll phone it in. And I don't know, just something to think about, something to help you out. Yes.
Just
I'm
without going
kidding.
too
Yes,
far.
Cynthia?
Yeah, I would just like
Yeah.
to encourage our chairperson to maybe make that motion, because I think I hear the chief of police and Mr. Falcon saying that if we had an emergency meeting, whatever day it's going to be, tomorrow or day after that, and go ahead and recommend to mayor and council, they do a ban, just like, and the chief did confirm in my recollection that there was one at one time. Why not do it again, given how than the dryness are this year? I mean, at least then we, as a committee, have met, done something at an appropriate time, and give power, or incentive to the mayor and council. I just think we should.
Well,
do
we have to take a minimum of 12 days.
12 days.
Is that what you
that.
said,
No, you
Joel?
can have it 24 hours. We could have it tomorrow, right, Joel?
24 hours.
No, you have to post emergency meetings too, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, it would still require a 24-hour notice for a special session.
Okay.
In which case, at that time, a decision could be made to perhaps put something forth to mayor and council. Also considering the number of council meetings we have prior to the 4th of July. We have to take those dates into account as well. I would be more than happy to follow up with Mr. Patterson and see what we can schedule as far as a special session for Police and Fire Advisory Committee.
Well, it's kind of like any meeting, Joel. It's not going to just be me. You're going to need to talk to everybody on the screen plus Frank, because it's going to have to be a day when everybody can attend, because we don't have any room for error on our quorum.
Okay.
And so it's got to be a day when everybody can attend, and when hopefully the two chiefs can be there. So,
Okay.
you
I
might
will-
want to touch bases with everybody and send in some potential dates.
So I would like to make the motion
Patterson.
that we proceed with a
No,
special
Craig
session.
first, and then we'll go to you.
Okay, sorry, Craig.
So, sorry, Kay, I just wanted to say that on this emergency meeting I'm certainly available for that, and I'll make myself to fit in the schedule. But since we have such an active Firewise group, I would like to join them on this motion, and I think they would probably be very interested in it, so that it has the strength of fire as well as the Police and Fire Advisory.
Good idea.
Okay, sure, that's great. Great idea. You making notes, Joel? You're gonna have to call like 200 people here pretty soon.
It worked, Joel.
I just wanted to get it off of my back and get it onto yours, so.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. So Chief Castillo, is your report finished?
Yes, sir. I have nothing else to say in my reports.
Chavi, do you have a report you want to make?
Okay, so let me look at the agenda here. So the taser overview, we are going to,
Wait a second, is that an agenda item, Joel? The
Yes.
tasers?
The police department report and requested topics were taser overview, animal control officer, Old Bisbee concerns, speeding, skateboarding on Tombstone Canyon, and Higgins Hill unregulated parking, as well as a department update.
Okay, those are agenda items, or those are parts of the chief's report?
Those are parts of the chief's report that have been requested.
Okay, because I thought the tasers were gonna be a agenda item. Chief, just let me, came from, when I talked to Joel about it, I got a call from someone that said they thought they saw in the budget that we were gonna buy some more tasers. And my response to them was that this is less than lethal response, which is if we can be on the cutting edge of less than lethal. I asked them, would you rather they were requisitioning tasers or cannons? I really believe that that's what you're attempting to do, right? Be able to
So-
have less than lethal.
Yes, and so we do have, we did get a grant that covered us from the 100 Club for $20,000. And that paid a portion of the tasers. We had been relying on tasers that were given to us from Saurita PD, Marana PD gave us their new ones. We got some government surplus tasers through the 1033 program that we were using, and we were piecing these together and trying to make them work, but they were all outdated and out of service, and it was becoming a dangerous thing. So we got the grant, and we budgeted for the purchase of new tasers, and those have all been trained and deployed, and so everybody now has a current proper up.
Cool. Very good to hear.
Okay. As far as the animal control officer, we don't have one as of right now. And there's still some discussion as to how that's going to pan out in the future. I really don't have a whole lot to say about that right this minute. As far as Old Bisbee concerns, the paving of Tombstone Canyon, it's a good thing, and we're always happy about seeing the new city street and how nice it looks, but it's a police officer that makes me cringe a little bit, because with that brand new pavement, usually we comes along with that is complaints of speeding vehicles. Mr. Harrow and I discussed many times this, and he went to great lengths to try to do some traffic calming as much as he could within the area of Main Street and Tombstone Canyon, sharpen some curves and narrow some lanes, which are have proven statistically to be better at slowing people down than parking a police car out on the street at random times. So we've gone to great lengths to try to improve that a little bit. And we are in the process right now, or we're discussing just this morning. Mr. Harrell is going to deploy some traffic counting and speed measuring equipment, so we can get an idea over a 2 or 3 week period of time what exactly we're dealing with and what kind of trends best approach those. If I can put somebody up there every day for 30 minutes on a directed patrol, but if that's not the time when the speeding's occurring, it's not doing much good. So this will give us some hard data that we can look at and possibly develop some trends, and then we can develop a plan and move forward from there.
Chief, I just want to make one comment. When you enter downtown north on 80, we now have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It used to be a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Correct.
So until the people get from that speed limit side to in front of the table, they're under the impression they can go 25 mile an hour. And
Correct. So
okay, I'm just asking whether
that's been a topic of conversation lately that we've discussed quite a bit. In fact, we met today, Mr. Pauken, Mr. Harrell, and the mayor and I. But that was one of the topics that came up. And the problem is that the traffic manual, the Bible for traffic manuals doesn't have a 15-mile-an-hour zone. And so that's part of what this study is going to do. In order for us as a city to develop or to enact a 15-mile-an-hour zone, we have to do a study. And that's part of what this data is going to do for us as well. And take that data and I'm sure it's going to show us exactly what we need to see to show that that speed limit needs to be 15 miles an hour. And then mayor and council, I will take an agenda item to mayor and council requesting that they deem that a 15-mile-an-hour zone. And then we will, if they approve it, obviously we will change that. But as of
So
right now,
we can't make all of Main Street a school crossing zone? Okay. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that. That's like 15-mile-an-hour speed limit zones are a special thing in the law?
correct.
Wow.
Except for certain situations like school crossing zones. But even school crossing zones only they only take effect. I don't remember the distance, but it's so many feet before the crosswalk, and once you pass the crosswalk, it resumes back to normal speed. It's very limited in its hour zone. So now there are cautionary speed signs, and Mr. Harrell went to great lengths to put as even extra signs up there, giving the cautionary speed of 15 miles an hour. But again, I think once we get this data from Public Works, from the speed and car counting equipment, we'll be able to have a better idea and understanding of what we're looking at.
Okay.
As far as the department update goes, I have the numbers. We're always a month behind in our numbers, but I have the numbers for March. In March, we responded to 353 calls for service, and we conducted 234 traffic stops in the month of March. That is a far cry different than what it was a year or even 18 months ago. We've come up in our numbers a little bit. We've had some more staff, and that always we have the guys have been pretty busy. Majority of the calls are the calls that we frequently responded to in that month were 33 public assist calls and 18 check welfare calls. So those are usually pretty simple calls. They're usually handled pretty quickly. The problem is all the other calls, there's so many of them. It's 3 or 4 here and there, but those are the ones that are time consuming. Those are the crimes against persons, the criminal damage calls, those things of those nature, the domestic violence calls. Those are things that take us a long time, and not to include traffic accidents on top of that. They do take up a lot of our time. Currently, we are sitting at 14 police officers within the city of Bisbee. We have one that's on light duty. She's out with a knee injury, and will be for just for about another month. We have one that will be agency to go to another agency at the end of this month, back to the end of this week. And then we have another one. We're saddened to hear that Sergeant Gardner, a 23-year City of Bisbee employee, police officer, sergeant, has decided to enter into the good life of retirement. So that's going to be a challenge for us because here in the next 4 weeks, we're going to be 2 officers down. And that's, for an agency as small as we are, to be 2 officers short, it is, it's a challenge for sure.
I
Are
thought,
you doing any
but in the
recruiting?
last meeting, you were below double figures, weren't you? I mean, you're just now building it up, and now you got to take another hit, huh?
And unfortunately, that's kind of the name of the game. We're still better than we were 5 years ago, and we've never gotten that bad. Every knock on wood, we never will. That's when we were down to 6 officers working. We've made a lot of progress, and we hope to continue. We are always actively recruiting. I think, Joel, that's one of those jobs that is posted all the time. Whether we need it or not, we always have a list running because, unfortunately, we just never know when we're going to have another opening. And, the county just got another or is slated, the sheriff's department to get another really big pay raise for all their deputies to the tune of, I think, $6,000 for their deputies. They were already $6,000 to $8,000 higher pay than we are, and now it's gonna increase and almost double. So with other agencies surrounding us paying that kind of money, it's always going to be a challenge, and we'll just keep dealing with it, and of course keep recruiting and keep supporting our local Cochise College Academy as best we can.
Joel, what about all these cities where people are taking early retirement and the police department's funding is being cut? I mean, if somebody takes early retirement in another department, and they've got an income coming in, maybe they could afford to live in a beautiful community like Bisbee. Do we advertise these openings anywhere but locally?
Chief would have to explain the challenges with interstate lateral transfers. Within the state of Arizona, lateral transfers do still have to go through Arizona Post. So, I mean, yes, those are options. Yes, we consider them on a regular basis, depending on, what we have coming in. But again, there's many details in regards to the AZ Post and those requirements.
Okay, well then, I will.
Yeah, there's definitely that, and I'll be honest, unfortunately, I think too now, there's some officers that feel because of defunding talk and things of that nature. Unfortunately, the political side of things, there's some officers that are out there that they feel once they get their retirement secured, the last thing they want to do is pin on a badge again and go back to work. And a lot of guys feel like they want to go and do something else. So.
But Bisbee is something else. We're special, okay? They've never worked any place like us. Where I've told you before, Chief, as long as the police news is on the back page and not the front page, we're doing okay. But I would think the things that some of these people have encountered, they've not been in a place like Bisbee. So, maybe we should have an international police celebration in Bisbee when they get here. Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. I just wish there was some way, because I think some of them, we wouldn't need but a couple of veterans from other places that could really help the police department.
So I'll tell you, we have, there's a couple challenges with that, and it's not something that we haven't thought of already or that we haven't tried to work on. I have a volunteer who's volunteered with us for some time now, and he's a retired Pima County Sheriff's deputy, and he still has very, very good contacts with the Sheriff's Department. He had a very good relationship with the previous sheriff, and he has a very good relationship with the current sheriff. He volunteers for us. He makes sense run for us so that we don't have to send a police officer to do it. And he also is one of our trainers. He's signed up with us through Post and is a general instructor and helps us with some training, as well as liaison with some bigger agencies like Tucson PD. He also has a very good relationship and a lot of friends, high-ranking friends there as well. And so he is always for the younger retirees, reaching out to them and offering Bisbee even as a part-time place, just to pull a couple shifts a month would be helpful to us. And we just haven't gotten any takers on that. And a big challenge with that is, unfortunately, it comes back to the pay, because somebody can live here in Bisbee and enjoy all the benefits of living in Bisbee, but yet still go and work for the Sheriff's Department and make, $12,000 to $15,000 more a year, and possibly more than that coming with the experience that they have. So that's going to be a challenge that we're going to have to deal with. And unfortunately, because of that, we're going to be a training ground, and we're going to keep hiring people and getting them trained and send them to the academy. And Some will stay and some will go. We've been very fortunate to stay with the numbers we've had as long as we had this go around. And so far, I don't think anybody's anybody else is, at least now we're not rumored to hear anybody else is leaving yet. But, we try to keep a positive, good working place here, a good working family where they're, even though they might not be paid as much, they're happy being here. And sometimes that's enough.
Well, we're fortunate to have you and Chief Castillo, who just love Bisbee so much that you're willing to serve here. But maybe we also need to look at this community and see if there aren't people that could, give some enticements or help sweeten the pot or do something. I mean, there's a lot happening right now. A lot of investment in buildings and things that those people are putting millions into Bisbee. And maybe they need to know that there are needs other than just the business needs. I mean, I'm willing to talk to the business community.
Well, one of the things
Cynthia talks to
one of the things that we started working on probably about a year ago, I guess, when we were trying to figure out a way that if we could get somebody like who was in Tucson or Phoenix or somebody else who's already Arizona State certified, who was retired and wanted to pick up, who missed it, wanted to come back to it, even if they only wanted to work part-time, trying to figure out a way where we could have and that's what kind of started the talk of the Bisbee Housing Project, is having a place where we could say, we'll give you a place, you can come down here and stay. You come down here, work the weekend, work 2-3 shifts, and there's a place for you to stay while you're here doing the ideas that we had and we're working on. And that one just never really, caught ground.
Well, maybe it could take the hotels and the restaurants on a rotating basis, maybe make a couple of rooms available, maybe make meals available. I mean, it takes a concerted effort from the community to make something like this work. So, we've got business people. We can reach out and see what we can come up with. Unless we got some way where you could invite these people, give them a big ticket on the way in and tell them they can work off the ticket over a weekend sometime. But I think I'd like to see the business. Sometimes it appears to me, and this is just me, that the school district, the city, and the business community might as well be in 3 different cities. Because we just as a unit, for the betterment of our community. And that's just my opinion. I've been on the school board. I've been on a couple of commissions. I chaired the Mayor's Small Business Commission in Tucson. I know the challenges that are faced by businesses, but it takes one place can't do it all. But if they all pitch in, maybe we can do something. But who knows? It's worth
One
Well,
quick
did I
question.
miss
Yes, Cynthia?
So I'm curious about the skateboarding. You didn't mention it, Chief. I'm sure when the pavement was new, that's why they got so excited and they were there everywhere all the time. And I don't know, maybe I've changed my schedule, but did somebody pull some of those 30-year-old children aside and tell them to quit scooting down there at 40 miles an hour? Because I haven't seen them lately. Are they less active than they were? It's too hot for them. What's the story with the skateboarding community?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I know we had some calls, and I think a few officers had some heart-to-heart conversations with a few people, reference that and the dangers thereof. But I haven't. I don't have a direct answer to that. I apologize.
Okay, seems like it's better. I just wondered if somebody did something.
Well, it seemed like for a while we had this one kid. It's constantly going up and down the street. And then there were a whole bunch of them. But, the one problem about skateboarding in Bisbee, one direction is always uphill.
Mhm.
So, I know if I ever got caught speeding on a new street, I'd claim I just didn't realize my tires were moving faster because of the smooth pavement, but I know what you say. When people see that clean, it's like being on a drag strip.
Well, and really, you're used to that bumpy road, and it's happened every time we've paved a new street, a major artery. Every time it's got new pavement on it, some point in time or another, we're going to get some complaints of speed, and sometimes they are legitimate, and some traffic enforcement is necessary, and sometimes it's a perception issue. That is a factor sometimes as well. But we've all done it. We've all been on new pavement, and you don't realize because it is so smooth how you catch yourself going a little fast. Hopefully that's a self-correcting issue, and we don't, it doesn't become an issue. But Main Street, Tombstone Canyon have always been areas of concern, regardless of new pavement or not. My hope is that some of the lane narrowing and the curve sharpening, the traffic calming techniques that were employed by Public Works will be effective in the long run. I'm anxious to get the traffic study to see what kind of data it's going to give us.
Okay, good.
I just want
Yes,
to
Cynthia.
conclusion that it might be a matter of record, since this is being recorded, that it actually, when Steve Pauken became our manager, is when those skateboarders all disappeared. So I wonder if they're out there at lunch, waving his finger at him. Steve, did you stop them? Because it seems
I guess I just scare the heck out of them. I don't know.
Well, it could be like one of those shooting, when you clear a house, one of those practice houses where it just pops up. We could have a little cardboard car look like it's going to shoot out in front of the skateboarder. Maybe, but I had not been to Minaditos in Tucson for a while, and I wanted to go take a friend to dinner there. And South 4th Avenue is now every block or so, there's a green area, and cars have to go around this obstacle to continue, and it is drastically slowed. But we don't areas where we could plant a garden in the middle of the street, but I can see where the mitigation does make a difference, because I'm telling you, you could not pick up speed in those areas.
Right, and those have been proven for a long time to work. Those techniques. Unfortunately, we just don't have the area on Tombstone Canyon without losing parking. And parking is it's a prime resource, and that's the challenge there. I think
true.
Mr. Pauken wants to.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, just a couple of quick things. Number one, even though it was criticized and it's still in some quarters, that was exactly the thought behind the design of Arizona Street. It has narrow spots to keep people from going too fast. And I know there's a couple people in Warren who still like to slap me upside the head for designing it that way, but it works. And that's what we cared about, was that it was a safe street that had pedestrians and children on it, and we wanted it to be safe. The second thing is, and I think we're at a good point in the agenda where I can. So I didn't want to just sign off and disappear. I wanted to say goodnight. And if you have any questions or anything, I've got it.
Joel, what do we have left on the agenda?
Just wanted to go over the staff liaison, so my report real quickly, and then we can take comments for future agenda items or suggestions.
Okay, yeah, Steve, I don't see any problem with you taking off.
Okay.
That'll give us a few minutes to talk about you.
Thank you.
anyways, so.
There you go. And just so you know, Tom, that's the Orion Nebula behind me. This is.
Well, I didn't think you were really there, but
Well, this is my hobby, so I took that picture.
you did. Well,
Yes, I did.
fantastic.
So,
I'm wearing a Rick and Morty t-shirt. It kind of reminds me of that. So,
and
Thank
Chairman
you.
Patterson, this is Craig Emanuel.
yes, Craig.
City Manager Balkan. On the discussion item of parking around Higgins, Church is a significant participant in that and has contractual agreement with the county. for parking.
Mhm.
And so just wanted to share that as
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, that's Craig,
I'm
that's
a-
a great, because
Yeah.
they may have some, maybe they would like to see it striped as well.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be chaos for them like it is for anybody else.
It
So
is.
that would be another partner in this. That's,
Right. Well, and
Thank
we're
you.
members at St. Patrick's, so there's up there as
Okay,
well.
great.
So we're all good, and you're absolutely right. They need to be involved in the discussion. So anyway, if there's nothing else, I'm going to bid you all a good night and thank you for the
thank you,
time.
thank you, and your
Thank
your
you.
remarks were well received.
Okay.
We
And
Really
the rest of you,
appreciate it.
we'll see the rest of you in the morning.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. So I'm just going to continue. Agenda item number 7 was the staff liaison report. We had a cancellation of an August 25th, 2020 meeting due to lack of quorum. On that agenda item had been a number of requested kind of informative sort of background things. And so I included them with this agenda as attachments. I've also printed them out as packets. So if anyone, I think most of the members have picked up, I think except for Mr. Emmanuel, but those are available. So what's included was requested open meeting law information, and the attachments were outline of basic parliamentary procedure, open meeting law 101, and copy of the Riggins rules. Contact information was requested on Bisbee Firewise. So the website there is attached, as well as contact email. There was requested neighborhood watch information, and there are some links there for use in the future. Also, I included the City of Bisbee City Code, Article 4.6, which goes over the Police and Fire Advisory Committee. And then I wanted to address other requested agenda items that were not going to be applicable for discussion today. One agenda item that was just brought forward was to perhaps work with the Streets and Infrastructure Committee, permanent solar street signs, which indicate speed on Tombstone Canyon. And that really is an item that I believe needs to start most likely in Streets and Infrastructure Committee, as well as having more involvement with Public Works Department. And so I've also cited the city code, Article 12.2.2, which goes over traffic control devices. Another item that was brought up that struck me as a really good research project for fiscal year 23 was to look at electric bicycles for public safety. In Europe and other places, they use electric bicycles for both police and emergency medical services. And due to the fact that our budget is pretty much wrapped up, not entirely yet, but this one would really give us right now an opportunity to work on that, researching and seeing what we can bring forth, in the future, seeing if that's something to bring to the budget sessions. And then another agenda item was discussing the public safety residency restrictions. And at this point in time, with the workforce housing initiative kind of starting to build, would like to see kind of how that would affect our public safety residency before we went too much further into that. And that's all I had for my report. And if I can also take any comments for future agenda items, there was not ample time to request police patrol plan for each ward. And so I have put that on for the next agenda to allow time for preparation for the police department.
Well, Joel, do you think any of the agenda items that were not covered because of canceled meetings should be on the future agenda, then I request as one of the committee members that you go ahead and add those to our agenda for the next meeting.
Okay,
Is there any objection to that from anybody?
But without knowing what they are, it's hard to. object.
yeah, I was gonna say, I honestly think most of them were covered. What wasn't distributed were all of those sort of historical documents, open meeting law, neighborhood watch handbook. Because I believe, and I'll double check, if there is something from that agenda that wasn't covered, I will make note of it and bring it forward
Okay.
next time.
We have, yeah, I gotta tell you, the police department has done a great job in explaining the neighborhood watch program in past meetings. I mean, the chief gave a lengthy presentation. And right now, they seem to be working where we have them. And I don't know if you've had any new requests, chief, but we do a pretty good job in that area.
Mhm. Are there any further comments or agenda items to be requested?
Yes, Cynthia.
When you do put something on, for example, that we couldn't make, I don't know how to say this. Is there a way to make sure that something might be where we can discuss and make a recommendation rather than just listing it under the requested topics versus page 1 where you actually say discussion and possible approval of blah, 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 blah. I'd like
Yeah.
to see discussion and approval or not of blah, blah,
Now,
blah, so that we don't can't take any action like happened with the fireworks and happened with the parking. So if we're going to talk about it, then to any degree, or it seems like a hot button issue, I want it to be labeled as discussion and possible approval or action. Because man, I hate talking and saying, "Oh, let's talk about it 3 months from now again." Rah rah.
yeah.
And
Well, no, I mean, you
want a
know,
committee that
I
doesn't-
think the agenda comes out how far ahead of the meeting? Just right before, do you give it to us?
I believe it's also the 24 hours is the minimum.
Okay.
I definitely do try to get that out with more lead time. This was not one of those cases.
Right. I'm just
Well,
thinking.
if, you know, Cynthia, no, I agree, Cynthia. If, like, what I was thinking, if we knew that was going to be part of Chief Castillo's discussion, then any one of us could have added an agenda item to actually take action on it. But we
Right.
don't get that far in advance. So I'm sure that if
Maybe you and Joelle could just work on that the week beforehand. So if something looked good, you would add discussion and possible
yeah, I mean,
whatever.
and there may be some way we can even word that in the item that's already there.
Right.
Discussion and potential action by information from Chief
Right,
Castillo.
like requested topics or requested topics that could end with
It's
discussion and
just-
possible approval in the
Yeah,
paragraph.
Okay, that's a good, but because, I mean.
I'll
people
also,
do it-
I
people
can
do
also
it
work
in-
with the clerks.
Yeah, otherwise our hands
Ashley
are
and
tied.
Nida to make sure that the verbiage is correct there.
I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Craig,
Yes, ma'am.
well, I just
Did
wondered.
you have something, Greg?
Chairman Patterson, I was just wanting you to recognize Kay Goikovich because I sort of stepped on her in the Zoom meeting.
Okay, well, and it says Joelle, so I'm
Sorry.
sorry
That's all
for
right.
knowing your name, so I call you ma'am, because that's the way I was raised.
Just call
But
me
I
Kay.
know it's not everybody likes to be called ma'am, so.
I'd like to ask the committee what they think about having some, maybe a couple, 1 or 2 work sessions before our next real meeting in, I guess, what is it, September?
Okay.
And discuss some
here-
issues that we can bring to our next agenda that we can approve on.
That's,
Okay, remember, we can't meet in a group bigger than 2 without notifying the public we're gonna meet.
Right, but why
So
can't,
we would have to post a study session. We don't, the charter does not allow public response in our commission meetings. We're one of those committees or commissions that does not have a call to the public. And so, maybe that's not a bad idea, but I'm just, as long together, find out, again, that would be, we'd have to all meet at the same time. It also could be something that could be tied in with an emergency meeting. Because sometimes the city council will have a study session and another type of meeting, but just being aware of the open meeting law and what we have to do and what we can't do. But I don't think that's a bad idea. It's just, we got to make sure we don't step on the open meeting law.
Right. I mean,
And
if we work through Joelle and say, we would like to have a work session and discuss these topics, and she can publish it.
Yeah, well, that's not, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, it's something, it's something that we wouldn't necessarily have to have. Is there a minimum? Joel, do we have to have a city employee in each of our meetings, even study sessions because this does put, we have the fire chief here, we have the police chief, we have a chief, we have, I think there was another fire department employee. We have, we have you, Joel. So that's a lot of resources that have to be available at our meeting. Do they also have to be available for a study session? Yes,
Or it would be,
Chief's saying yes, okay.
yeah, I mean, they are part of the committee. Now, in order to have a quorum, yes, it's of the members. Work sessions, my understanding, a work session can be used for discussion, but no action. A special session is what is required in order to take action. And so that
Okay.
is the one.
Why, I don't think I think you're just talking about a, discussion of ideas, right, Kate?
That's correct.
Yeah, so, okay, as long as we
Call
stay,
that a work session.
Oh, yeah.
because I don't want to tie up the two chiefs.
Right, and we
You
would.
know, I remember when Chief
Committee.
came back from a hunting trip and we had no quorum. I felt so bad. I felt good for the wildlife in Arizona, but
Okay,
Cynthia, did you have something that you wanted to
Well, I
say?
just think a work session would be something that would be helpful to this committee to
Yeah, I think so
see
too.
what we have in common that we want to move forward in support and put our resources together.
And
Because I know
please
in this committee, we have some very well-informed people in this arena. Craig and Kay have both, as everyone knows, served in this capacity for a while. Tom, you and I have been out there beating the public bushes here forever. So I think it'd be a great idea for us to get together and
I
share
agree too. So,
at a work session, so we don't have to waste the time of officials.
yeah,
And then out of a work session could come if we wanted a special session where we want to develop something.
yeah, and we'd have some well-defined agenda items.
Right, because otherwise waiting 3 months, it's sort
Yeah,
of.
well, we don't have,
defunct if we don't take.
we don't have to wait 3 months. I mean,
Right,
okay.
those we've set as regular quarterly meetings. And I think it actually says as needed in the code or the charter. So we could hold meetings every month if we wanted to, but there's other committees and commissions that meet. I'm sure that the two chiefs have a few other things they have to do. Joelle, she doesn't have much to do with us, but she wants us to give her all these things to do so she can get her, but
since Kay is with Joel right now, maybe they could pick a date, put an email out to all of us, here's the work
Yeah.
session, and then we'd agree that we can all do that.
yeah, that's great. I think it'd be a wonderful
It
idea.
has to be zoomed within the next 30 days anyway. So
And
we-
this is such a good commission and it has so much purpose to it. Like I said, where else can you meet both chiefs at the same time? And have them listen to your input and the public, I went on Bisbee City Watch just a few weeks ago and said, we're accepting agenda items. I didn't get a single person respond to me.
That's because
So-
City Watch is only for complaining.
I know that, I understand that, but at the same time, I thought I'd get at least a few complaints. There's a few people I expected to call me, but no, I think I'd like to see us get enough members that someone can't leave town in fear that they're gonna cancel our meeting on us. So I really thank everybody for being here. I think Chief, it's an honor to have you be here, and we appreciate that when you attend, because it gives more credibility to this commission. I thank all the members for being here so that we had the whole commission here, but that's what it takes for a quorum.
Well, the challenge is when regards to the staffing, the code, both Chief Castillo and I have to appoint 2 people to be on this committee. And I don't think it was ever intended for the 2 chiefs to be here. But I think George and I both agree it's kind of silly to not have the chiefs here, because you can get the perspective from patrol or from the firefighter level, but you don't get the perspective from the administration level and why the decisions are being made the way they're being made. And so we have to have our staff here, because they're the ones appointed to sit on this committee. But in reality, the ones that really need to be here are Chief Castillo and myself, in my opinion.
Well, and I just want you to know, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you give credibility to the committee. And that's something I've tried to say in the editorials I've written, but I think we can get a few more people on here. And we're getting now where we're going to be out. Some people don't like the Zoom meetings. I'm really happy that every meeting I sit in goes to China. I mean, they own Zoom. So it'll be nice when we can meet in person. And I think we'll have some other people that will be more apt to join with us that are not really crazy about technology. And so I'm just glad we were able to meet today. And we actually discussed some pretty important things. Cynthia, thank you for jumping on board. Kate, thank you. Craig, of course, always thank you. Joel?
The work session could be in person. Is that true? I mean,
Yeah.
You and Joel.
Yeah, I think that's
Because
not, he didn't say that the city council banned us meeting.
No.
a work
Okay.
session, we can do whatever we want.
It's a
Well, to a
recommendation.
certain degree, don't talk about that with both the chiefs still on the line. I mean,
Okay.
All right, I got it.
Mr. Patterson, I can't recall, do we need a motion for adjournment?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody want to make motion?
Okay, I'll make
Thank
the
you,
motion.
Kate. A second, please.
Second,
Anybody opposed? Then we are adjourned, and thank you all very, very much.
Thank
Your-
you.
Thank you.
Your service to the
Have a good
community
evening.
is really appreciated.
Thank
All right, we'll see you next time. And as always, I'll see you 2 chiefs on the street somewhere. Hopefully I'll be going the speed limit.
Bye-bye.